Hey everybody, the purpose of this video is to talk about how the prompt of a rhetorical analysis question can actually really help get you into the writing portion. So I want to talk to you about this prompt that you guys are going to be working with the next few days. It's from the 2012 exam, and it's one of my favorite prompts because I find Kennedy's argument really compelling. And it applies so much still to today, economically in the United States. Anyway, so the prompt, what I really want you to pay attention to is how much of space it provides. So it says on April 10th, 1962, as the United States was emerging from a recession, the nation's largest steel companies raised steel prices by 3.5%. You know the context right there. You know everything that's happening in the United States. It's the 1960s. We are emerging from a recession, so you can imagine that things are very economically tight. People are very frugal. They are a little hesitant in their spending. And then the nation's largest steel companies have raised steel prices by 3.5%, and that is by a lot. I want to give you a little bit of context about steel in the 1960s in the United States. At this point, steel had been booming, even as close as Pittsburgh and as close as Baltimore. There was a thriving steel industry in the early 1900s, and by the 1960s, we were definitely starting to export a lot of materials to other countries, but we were still like it was a pretty strong industry. Anyway, so they raised these prices by 3.5%, and that's a very big deal because steel is in everything. It's in cars, it's in buildings, it's in houses, it's in dishwashers, it's in farming equipment. You name it, steel is probably in it in some capacity. So this is going to impact everyone. So it continues to say, President John F. Kennedy, who had repeatedly called for stable prices and wages as part of a program of national sacrifice, during a period of economic distress, held a news conference on April 11th, 1962, which he opened with the following commentary regarding the hike in steel prices. So not only does it tell you the occasion, but now we're also talking about exigence here. This is a very good example of how the prompt can give away a lot of space to you. So we know the speaker, it's President Kennedy. His purpose, we don't explicitly know, but more than likely it's going to have to do with the steel executives retracting this increase in cost, right? We can assume that we are coming out of a recession. He is trying to talk about stable prices and wages, national sacrifice because of economic distress. So we can assume that his purpose is to get these steel executives to take back that cost increase. Do we know who the audience is? Yeah, it's these steel companies, but also the American people who are doing a lot of the sacrificing. Do we know the context? Absolutely. It's the 1960s. We're talking about the Vietnam War. We're talking about a recession. And then do we know the exigence? We do. It's the rising cost of steel. So by the prompt alone, you can actually predict what Kennedy is going to talk about and how he is going to make an argument against this rise in steel costs. That can actually really help you read closely and identify different strategies that he's using to achieve his purpose to get these steel executives to realize that their decision was faulty and that he needs them to retract it. So I want you to see that sometimes the prompt alone can guide you with your reading. It can provide a lot of the thinking for you up front. That way you can really focus on the strategies and techniques that the writer is using and figuring out how they are doing it to accomplish a purpose. All right, good luck. Have fun reading.